My guests today are Cassie and Chelsea from the Real Life Show. Wait, sorry, guys. Sorry, Steve. I have my editor. This is the first time I've ever done that. This
We do all.
just closed down on me. Isn't that weird? Oh my God, what happened to my computer? That was weird. Okay.
Yay.
Talk about Real Life Show.
Mm-hmm.
Boom, boom. All right. Let's try this again. My guests today are Cassie and Chelsea from the Real Life Show, Living with a Chronic Illness podcast. They met teaching Pilates before joining forces to form a chronic illness support group in Wichita, Kansas. Thanks to the pandemic, they moved their group online and started the podcast. Since then, they've grown to a top 10% podcast. Good for you, ladies. Been selected as Airy Changemakers in 2020 and have continued to grow their community while building their Pilates teaching schedules. They love the opportunities to do multiple different things throughout the week while making a living and getting to connect with so many amazing people. Welcome, you two. So glad you could hang with me today and the PGP community. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
for having us. We're so happy to be here.
That was so cute, said like in tandem. Thank you
I know.
so much.
We spend a lot of time together.
Yes.
Well, I've known these ladies for a couple of years now, or at least maybe even longer. I honestly don't even remember how we met.
It's got to be a couple years because I think you were one of our podcast interview guests
Yes.
during the pandemic when we were all at home.
Okay, got it. Got
think
it. And
that
that's
sounds like it was that time frame.
that time of life is just a blur. So it
Mhm.
felt like 10 years that we've known each other. But anyway, I'm just glad we
Exactly.
did meet
Yay.
because these ladies are something special.
Aw.
Only one of you, Cassie, has a chronic illness, though you've built your Chronicpreneur business around chronic illness. So
Mhm.
let's start with Cassie. Would you please share your story of your diagnosis story with us?
Yeah, I'll mash it down a little bit because
Oh,
these can
yes,
take a long
they
time. So
can.
I'm going to cut it into like a few sentences or so, so that we can have all of our wonderful chats. But basically, I have Crohn's disease, and so I was diagnosed summer of 2016 with severe Crohn's disease.
Mm.
I had been sick for 2 to 3 years beforehand, um, where I just noticed that I didn't feel as well as my peers, and
Mm.
like coworkers seemed to have so much energy, and
Mhm.
my ex-husband at the time he had so much energy. I started noticing like I feel different than all of these people. What's up with that?
Mhm.
And then I started having some more symptoms, and it was a lot of abdominal swelling and cramping. And I
Mm.
totally thought I had something wrong with my reproductive system.
Yeah.
I'd had a miscarriage in January 2015, and that was really the trigger point for my illness kind of taking over, where it wasn't just a matter of like I feel a little different than these people around me. It was like I am ill, I am not okay.
Yeah.
So that's really what triggered the domino effect, I guess, or the snowball or whatever. I really was convinced that it was a reproductive issue. And I started the AIP diet, autoimmune protocol, to try and self-treat. And in the very beginning of Dr. Amy Meyer's book, I think it is. Dr. Amy Meyer's. Oh my God, is that her name? Now I'm getting confused. Anyway, in the very beginning, there's basically a quiz of like, if you have an autoimmune condition and if you score a certain amount, you may, right? Well, mine was like outrageously over. And so I was like, oh my goodness. And I was reading it and I was like, oh, that thyroid stuff resonates. Oh, endometriosis resonates. So by the time I was told to get a colonoscopy, I did not think it was going to be my gut. So upon waking up from anesthesia and then telling me that I had severe Crohn's disease with 11 polyps that were removed and 5 were precancerous.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And I was
an
like,
overachiever.
right. And I was like 26 and I was like, oh my God. Okay. Actually, my first reaction was like, I got this. It's fine. I've just read all about this. And then the next day I was like, oh shit. What
Reality hit. Yeah.
So that was summer 2016. That was the diagnosis story. And since then, I was hospitalized for a small bowel obstruction. And I've had 3 fistula rectal surgeries. And I currently have 2 ceton tubes down in my pelvic region because of fistula complications with Crohn's. And I found out I was celiac.
Goodness.
And
girl,
I know. It's so silly. That was this year. I still sometimes eat gluten, and Chelsea and I've talked about that on our podcast. I'm working on it. And also summer of 2016, when I was seeing some doctors of trying to find out what was wrong with me, one of my doctors, a DO, she's like, have you ever been bitten by a tick? And I was like, yeah, totes, like a lot. I couldn't even count. She's like, I'm going to check you for Lyme disease. And I was like, okay. And then that came back positive, which I was super surprised.
Whoa.
That was like 2 days after my colonoscopy. But I was also in denial. I was like, no, this doesn't mean anything. This is so controversial, you know? And so like a month later, she did another Lyme test the first one was in out of a lab in Maine. The second one was a lab just at the hospital in Montana, and that was positive. So I was like, okay.
No denying.
Yes, I still deny it for some reason.
Well, I understand that.
So that's kind of my diagnosis. So I have a mixture of stuff. I'm currently on Entyvio, which is a biologic immune suppressant. It's the third one I've been on for Crohn's. I did Remicade and Stelara, and I've been on Entyvio almost a year and a half. And I was pretty sick from those surgeries throughout the pandemic, but for the last 6 months, I have been really feeling pretty good.
Good.
So I'm in a good place right now.
Knock on some wood right now, sister. You know, you got to do that when you got chronic illness and you're feeling okay right now. And let me just say, I totally thank you for all that explanation and crunching it down in time frame. But I totally get the denial thing. I always call myself Cleopatra, Queen of Denial, because I was diagnosed with MS in 2008. I'm still in denial about that. And then I was recently, talk about an overachiever. I was recently diagnosed now with fibromyalgia and completely in denial of that. So I get it. I completely get it. It's how you keep going sometimes, you know?
Absolutely.
Put it behind you. I can't think about that right now. I get it.
Exactly. You just can't add anything else on the plate.
I can't take one more fucking thing. Yeah. All right. So, and then there's sweet Chelsea, who you don't have a chronic illness. You just wait, sister. You're both so young. But no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So how did the two of you meet? And then how did you make the decision to start a business together? Who wants to take that one? Chelsea, you do.
We both taught Pilates, and we taught at the same studio, and we were at a gym staff meeting, and I think that they were talking about wanting to create more community engagement and more community events. And Cassie sitting next to me, because all of us Pilates instructors are like, let's sit next to each other at the meetings because we're just this fun, happy club and we're just happy. So you're sitting next to each other, and Cassie's like, I want to start a chronic illness support group. And she said it out loud. And I'm really, really glad she said it out loud. And I turned to her and I was like, can I help? I'd like to be part of it. Because while I don't have a chronic illness myself, I have seen friends and family struggle with health issues. And it's an area that is a near and dear place to my heart. Health is something that's really important, and to not be feeling good and to go through all the other struggles, and then to have people and doctors not believe that you're going through that struggles. My brain just doesn't get it. And I think it's the stupidest thing ever. And so
Amen.
I try to be the example of, okay, people can believe that you feel like garbage, even if your test results aren't showing that.
Right.
And so we just kind of have teamed up and started the support group, and we started meeting for coffee to chat about things. And we both realized that we're really ambitious. We found a lot of personality traits that are very similar. We like to be a little woo-woo. We're very into goal setting. And as we were chatting, we were like, okay, this could be something more than just a support group. And it was Cassie that was like, our conversations are just so good, we should record them.
Ding, ding.
The podcast started.
Yes.
Yeah. I was like, Chelsea, let's start a podcast. And she was like, okay. And I was like, we can do it. Let's do it.
I love that.
It was really nice having somebody to go through it, because while I listened to a bunch of podcasts and I had my own business already, and I'd been kind of thinking about maybe one day doing it. It was this thing that was this big, scary thing I didn't know how to do. And so when Cassie's like, let's do it, I was like,
how do you do that? Let's do it.
Dive in.
Yes, that's the thing. Just, dive in and figure it out. And it's great that you did have each other. That's wonderful. I did not. which
Mhm.
I highly suggest you have somebody helping you, or at least for moral support, because that. But I will say this, because we do talk a lot in PGP about podcasting.
Mhm.
It is so much easier now than it was when I started mine in 2015. There were no
I bet.
roadmaps. There was no training. I was like, what the fuck? And I am not a techie at all, and it was very frustrating. But anyway,
And
I'm
once we
glad
got
y'all.
started, it was a lot easier than I had it in my head. I thought it was going
Yeah.
to be like this really technological savvy thing. It was going to be really
Right.
hard to edit. It's
Yeah.
not as, I mean, and
It's
there,
not,
you could
right?
probably edit our podcast more than we choose to.
Mm-hmm.
We make it very easy, but
Well, and
that's
we
fine.
we split up tasks, so it was so
Uh-huh.
nice to have each other.
Yeah.
You know, we kind of
Yes.
found what each other's strengths were, and we're able to divvy up tasks between the two of us. And I do
So
think
great.
that one of the things that made and still makes our podcast special, but especially in the very beginning, was Chelsea and I were friends, and but very much coworkers. And
Mhm.
so when we started meeting for coffee about the support group, it was in those sessions that we were like, oh my gosh, we click. Like
Mhm.
we kind of we were sharing similar interests that we didn't really have with other friends, like
Mhm.
manifesting and things like
Mhm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
And the beauty of that was when we got on the show with Chelsea not being a spoonie or having a chronic illness and me having it, all these conversations came up that may not have taken place if it
Oh,
was me
yeah.
and another spoonie, or, you know, Chelsea and another non-spoonie,
Yeah.
because we knew each other and we clicked, but yet we didn't have years of history. So if Chelsea asked me questions like, hey, you know, the holidays are coming up, like, how do you feel like what helps you to get through the holidays?
Right.
And I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, what does help me get through the holidays? So Chelsea asked these questions that made me think about my illness differently in a way that could be more helpful for others and coming up with tools.
Yeah.
So it was sort of between this like incredible aspect of Chelsea's compassion and empathy and her coaching skills that we almost like found this way to have these conversations to help people through
Yeah.
our show. And it was
I love
really,
that.
it's I love it.
I love it too. And, you know, just as you're talking, I'm realizing if you both had chronic illness, there would be this shared language that is sort of unspoken, that then those who don't have a chronic illness wouldn't be addressed. There'd be things that went unsaid, but because
Right.
Chelsea, you asked Cassie questions that a non-spoonie would have, it just, I'm sure, opens that up, you know, for everybody, even outside of chronic illness. That's so cool. So, okay, you started this podcast. Well, you decided to do a support group. Was that what started it first?
It's what
Support
started
group?
it. We had I think 2, maybe 3 meetings, and then the pandemic hit, and we have not had an in-person meeting since, and everything went online,
Yeah.
which actually allowed us to, I think, connect with a lot more people than we would have if we
Right.
had kept it a little bit more in person.
Yes. And then you started the podcast.
Mhm.
So tell me about, is your this support group that you're speaking of, that has turned into a membership, right?
It's our community, our wellness hub.
Yeah, the Wellness Hub. Love it.
Mhm.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. We're both like, which one? Okay.
You.
So when we had our in-person support group, one of the things that we came up with topics for each meeting. And it was things like how to survive the holidays, or we worked on how to respond when someone says, how are you? You know, having a chronic illness, it's like, okay, how do I answer that? Do I tell you
Right.
the truth? Do I not?
Yeah.
And so we had a whole meeting discussing with like a PowerPoint and everything of like all different ways that you can answer that and what those could lead to, you know, like one of those little diagram things.
Yeah.
And so when we moved online, we're like, okay, let's still have some direction, because even like Chelsea was really into goal setting, and I have always been ambitious, but didn't really have any structure of goal setting. So then Chelsea would present how to set goals, and then we would like tweak it for spoonies so that it doesn't feel so overwhelming or defeating.
Yes.
And so then it's like, okay, in January, we're going to do this goal setting like workshop in our meeting in person. And so we just moved all that online. And one of the biggest things that we wanted for our community, which I definitely feel like we have achieved, is it is a positive, uplifting community. That doesn't mean it's covered with toxic positivity. We have
Right.
something called Whining Wednesdays. You get to go in there, you get to vent and talk about all your shit with zero advice given,
Mhm.
which
Oh,
is
I
so
love it.
nice. Yeah. And but in the same time, we also have Smiling Sundays where we're going to talk about something uplifting, whether that's just sharing pictures of your pets or funny memes. So in Facebook, it was so easy to get lost in kind of a negative rabbit hole in a lot of those groups. And
Mm-hmm.
it would be tiring, and it was easy to feel a little hopeless
Mm-hmm.
with your diagnosis.
Truth.
Or there ended up being all this competition with who's sicker, and it wasn't nice. And so our community is really welcome to all. It's a safe space. You can, you can vent, and life can be hard. We definitely understand that, but we also want to do the best we can to help you come out of that and find something to smile about, because
Mm-hmm.
it's very easy to get lost in the dark with a chronic illness.
So true.
And it's really important to Chelsea and I that we help to show some of the light to help you come out of it when you need to.
I love that. And you do trainings, and you have product suggestions and
Yep.
links and
Mhm.
all kinds of wonderful
Boonie
things.
vetted recommendations.
I love
Yes.
that.
So on our website, it's actually not even part of our membership. Anyone can access it. But any type of recommendation that we've gotten, if you go to mywellnesshub.co, not com.co, yay, domains. But anything that we've heard over the conversations we've had with people that's like, this is a product that's been really helpful, it's on there.
That's
Because it can be so hard to find stuff. And
No
of course,
kidding.
we're always wanting to add to it. And it's been a great way to just create some resources for the chronic illness community, because I feel like you're handed a diagnosis from your doctor and then you're like, what do I do now?
Yeah. And then they're like, good luck. Bye-bye. See ya. See ya next flare.
Mhm.
That is so great. So you really have explained kind of the core of your business. So how do you generate revenue? Membership
So
affiliate sales, I think. I'm guessing, but I'm thinking
Yes.
that's true of all these things.
So currently most of our income comes in from our membership.
Mhm.
And then we also have some books on Amazon. We've used Amazon self-publishing tool, which is great. I have mixed feelings
Yes.
about Amazon itself, but its self-publishing tool is incredible. So we get some income from that. And then of course, podcast ads, affiliate links, things like that. Knowing that we're both really busy with other aspects of our businesses too, or a lot of the Pilates stuff that we do as well. It's one of those things where knowing that we can have areas to continue to grow in, like that resource library that we mentioned. Not every link we have on there is an affiliate link
Right.
now.
In
Over
the
time, we want
future.
to make,
Yeah.
our goal is to make sure that almost every single one of those is an affiliate link to
Yeah.
help regenerate even more revenue.
Yeah. Love that. And so you're doing good both sides. You're giving good, solid, vetted resource recommendations,
Mhm.
and you're being, you're making money from that. But just to be really clear, and if you join Patients Getting Paid, there is an affiliate um, workshop in there. But basically, these ladies vet these products and recommend them, and then you, as the end user, click on their unique URL and you purchase something, and they get a commission. You don't pay any more. It's just that they, for them promoting, get some commission. So it's such a win-win-win. I always suggest to people, that's like low-hanging fruit in my world. I really suggest that to a lot of people that I coach. Get into some affiliate sales. So I'm glad that that's working for you. And then, yeah, your books. So, you use this Amazon self-publishing tool, so they're available on Amazon. I just want to mention to everybody that all of the links for today, including the ladies' books, are going to be in the show notes. So you can just go to patientsgettingpaid.com/podcasts and find this this episode, and all of these clickable links will be in there. So don't drive off the road or anything, or quit working out, because they'll all be in there. But tell us about your books.
So we have 2 books. We have Empowered Self-Care, and then, which is taking control of your energy. and we have Live a Better Life.
I'm looking
which-
around because I just had this the first
know.
one. I just had it. I don't know where it went.
I
Anyway.
know, and I also was like, oh, I see one of them. And then there's Live a Better Life, which is about facing your fears and how to find hope. So Empowered Self-Care is a little bit more of a workbook. It's a 21-day workbook. You could just read through it, but the journaling prompts are super helpful. It's very much about learning how to manage your spoons and finding out what in your life is taking your spoons, what's giving you your spoons, and how to, better find more energy to live the life that you really want to live.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of fantastic feedback about that being helpful. And Chelsea and I both have worked through the workbooks ourselves multiple times. And even Chelsea, not being a spoonie, but someone, as all humans have limited energy, she's found it really helpful too.
Yeah.
And Live a Better Life was really oh my gosh. I mean, it was kind of like, I'm actually really fucking proud of it.
Talk about it, sister. You should be proud.
I need to read it. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So Chelsea and I created a online kind of like course program thing called Next Level Resilience,
which was one of our business experiments that we did a couple years ago.
And then we were like, this is really good shit.
Yeah.
And then it really wasn't getting out there. And so I think it was me that I was like, Chelsea, let's turn this into a book. So the way that our like duo works a lot is I'll be over here like, let's do this. Let's try this. Let's try this. And Chelsea is really good at either bringing me back down to earth or being like, yes, let's find a way to implement that. So
I love that.
We basically turned that whole course into a book, and it really, like, our hearts and soul are in there. It is our personal experiences and also discussions through podcasts, people we've met. So I'm proud of it. Like it's deep for us in there, and it is really helpful. And when I was going back and editing the final copy to then put up onto Kindle and Amazon, I was in a place of like, I was having another surgery. I was like, life is really fucking hard. How am I ever going to live with this illness forever? How am I supposed to live another 50 years with this fucking illness? Right.
Yeah.
And it was just like, and I was reading through editing the book, and I was like, oh my God, like I'm feeling hopeful.
You were uplifted
I'm seeing the light
by your
I
own
was
book.
uplifted, and I texted Chelsea, and I was like, Chelsea, it's working.
This shit's good.
This is good shit.
That's great.
That's one of the reasons why we wanted to turn it into a book is, and if people are listening to this, they're probably interested in creating their own businesses in some ways. Don't be afraid to try something and go, that didn't work the way that I wanted it to, and try something else. And when Cassie and I reflected on, yes, we love courses, we love taking them. It just felt like a little bit more energy for both of us to promote a course and to show up to support a course. And when we both were like, how do we really want to be making money when it comes to this business, knowing that a lot of the other things we do are very present, very active. We both wanted passive income, and we both wanted to write. Yeah. And so that's when we were like, okay, well, we can always have this course in our back pocket. We still have all of the videos recorded, all of the PowerPoints, all of the content. So if we ever wanted to be like, hey, we're going to do a live version, and Cassie has this look on her face right now that makes me think that maybe she's like, maybe we should do a live version. Not right now, but it's just there. It's just there to have. And we felt like it wasn't that much extra work for us to change it to a new medium. And because we'd already written Empowered Self-Care. Yeah. So we kind of knew what that process looked like. And so we got it done.
You sure did.
We feel like it was more accessible to a wider audience, and our target audience being spoonies. Yeah. The Kindle version is $2.99. The paperback version, I think, is $12.99 or $14.99.
$12 or $13.99. It's one of the two.
Yeah.
So you should probably know the answer to that question.
It's so affordable. And then we really felt good about having something to offer everybody.
Well, and that's the thing. It's on Amazon. I mean, talk about a huge search engine, right? And people are there looking for this, and then they're like, hey, I can discover it right here rather than just being in your little universe, right? I love that. There's so many things I just want to comment on that, everything you just said. So okay. Oh, I'm so excited. So You mentioned this was a business experiment, this next level
Mm-hmm.
resilience course. And I loved what you just said about don't be afraid of like kind of dropping back and punting, right? So you tried something that didn't really work out for you the way you wanted it to. So you're like, well, how I've already created this. How can I reinvent this and make it more accessible and also make it work for me? That's as a chronicpreneur, what we have to do is really look into what is not going to kick our own ass and be able to generate an income. We got to accommodate our health, generate an income, be a chronicpreneur. And that's exactly what y'all did. And that's fantastic. I'm so proud of you. And the other thing was, in working with each other, it's so obvious that this helps you, both of you, this, and you play off each other and you help each other and you work on different things and you come together and create things. This is the kind of thing that we're seeing taking place inside the Patients Getting Paid membership community too.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to strongly suggest anybody that's in there that's listening or going to join, make sure you bulk up your profiles with search terms because that's how people are finding each other for joint ventures and collaborations, things that they're both interested in. Similar diagnoses, all those kinds of search terms. People search on each other and then they can come together and maybe create an ebook or create a course or start a business or be on each other's podcasts or anything like that. But I think you two are fantastic examples of so many things, but not the least of which is how great it can be to work with someone because I got to tell you, this solopreneur bullshit is tough. I
It's really
mean,
hard.
if we haven't learned anything through COVID, we have certainly learned that we need others, right? And I think particularly when you're starting a business and just to have somebody even to bounce ideas off of is huge, which I try and provide that in PGP. But if you can find somebody to work with and work toward your goals, I just think you're doing everything right. It's going to help everybody.
It's
So,
actually funny that you say that, Kathy, because that's one of the reasons why I think I was so drawn to Cassie when we started talking is I had started my own coaching business online. I was all by myself. I was part of a mastermind, but all of my people were not in the same area as me and I didn't have the same connection. So when I was able to meet Cassie and get to know her and realize, okay, she's ambitious too. She's interested in the same things. Not only did we come together as business partners and friends, but that also gave me support and encouragement in my own business.
so
And
great.
I mean, I don't think I would have made it still. I don't think I'd still be in business with myself or with Cassie without her. Like
Yeah,
you
that's
need
so
a buddy.
awesome. You
You need a buddy.
do.
Aw.
Yeah, that's so sweet. And that's something again that we try and provide. So I don't want this to, freak anybody out and go, well, I need to find a partner. We do try and provide that in PGP and we will be there to support you and everything. But this is a prime example, man. If you can find somebody to collaborate with, do a joint venture with, whatever, it is so great to do things together, right?
Yeah.
Cassie, how does this business like accommodate your health? In what ways?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say that first of all, I can do it from bed, or right now I'm sitting in a
Yay.
super comfy chair. I mean, even to the point that like I haven't actually used my desk for probably a year. Yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
Because I actually can't sit in an office chair even still, like comfortably. Like my
Bless
seat's
your
on
heart.
tubes. It's just painful. And so I've even been like, I think I should get rid of my desk. It's just taking up space in my room. And it's basically just become a surface of like a lot
Dumping
of shit
shit
on it. Yes.
I
So-
understand.
Yes. So it's great because I could do it from like I had a standing desk seated in my bed a lot. I mean, Chelsea and I record podcasts I've been in my bed multiple times. So that
good.
was really nice, being able to do it from home. And choosing my own hours was really great because then it's like if I wanted to work in the evening on something, I could. Chelsea was really good at helping me with deadlines because sometimes I can be a procrastinator.
What
so
is
it
that? I don't understand what that is.
and so she would create these deadlines and
I create them because I also need them.
yes, and there would be enough leeway that it's like, okay, if I feel like shit for 3 days, I don't have to worry about it and I will just pick this back up when I can. And that being said, we also really wanted to build into our business flexibility.
Mm.
So just the fact that like we both know we have stuff going on or we have limited energy. So we give ourselves
Right.
a lot of grace.
So good.
But the remote work, you know, just being able to do it anywhere is huge. And then
Huge.
the flexibility. And Chelsea and I currently gave ourselves and each other a little too much leeway for a few months. And then we were both
That
like,
can
we
happen.
needed it.
We needed it.
There was a
Yeah.
probably, I'd love to say it was only a 3-month period. It was probably
Like
closer to
6.
5 or 6, that we both just had so much going on that, I mean, with everything else in life, we were basically at breaking point. If we had put extra pressure on
Yeah.
ourselves to
Mhm.
focus on our business, we literally just kind of like coasted and barely maintained for about
And then
4-ish months.
it was
Then we came back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we kind of took a step back, but one of the nice things about it, which kind of goes back a little bit to you saying like, if something doesn't work, try something else.
Yeah.
We came back to it where we're both like, okay, what do we like doing and what do we not like doing?
Mm-hmm.
And what is our
Perfect.
bare minimum that we're comfortable, each of us business wise, with like showing up as far as like for our audience and the people that we
Mhm.
love talking to?
Yeah.
And what's the bare minimum or the max that we can each invest?
Yeah.
So we came back with this whole new parameter of guidelines of like, we love what we have, you know, and how can we show up authentically, genuinely, and love showing up and be there and not feel like it's a burden. So we kind of restructured things quite a bit actually. And we've done that several times.
Yeah.
And we've been like, okay, well, this isn't working. We're not enjoying this. Okay, we love this. You know, for example, we're
Yeah.
like, we freaking love our podcast.
Yeah.
We love doing our podcast. We started when we took that little break also, and we had tried so many little ventures throughout our business.
Mhm.
We, oh my God, I just fucking lost my train of thought.
Hey, welcome to the world of chronicpreneurism.
Yeah, speaking of giving yourself grace.
My guess
Yeah.
is you're probably saying that we tried so many different things because y'all,
Oh yeah,
we published books, we've had multiple membership platforms.
Oh
We've
yeah,
done a
that's what I was
lot.
getting with. Wait, I
So
remembered it.
good.
So we
Yay!
got down to where I like turned to Chelsea too, and I was like, Chelsea, we have like magic, just the two of us, just being
Mm.
ourselves. Every
Mhm.
time we try to like do too much shit,
Yeah.
we are both burned out. But just the
Yeah.
two of us bounce off each other. We ask questions to each other that bring these topics and issues up that need to be talked about. And then on top of that, we have created some really good stuff. And we're like, how
You
can
have.
we already use or reuse everything we've created?
Yeah.
And that goes into that where if you've created a course or you've created a book, how can you take everything you've already done and just reuse it?
Yes.
And so that's what we've
Repurpose
really
it.
been,
Yeah.
repurpose it. That's what we've been working on again.
So smart.
And that's really helped in a time that my spoons have been much more limited.
Yes.
So I would say that's part of our like business structure.
I love that. And the three things, I am confident there are more, but sort of the three main facets of your business, podcast, books, and membership, are all things that you can kind of coast on, right? So they're still going to keep going. I mean, they are all evergreen. It's not like you have to keep producing content. There's an opportunity to coast a bit, which is, I think, really important for people to consider when they have a chronic illness and they're thinking of going into some sort of business. Will it allow you margin in your life? Will you have space? Because we need it. We have to build that in from the beginning. So I love what you just said about that and being able to kind of press pause a little bit, but it keeps going. It's not like everything stopped. It's not like you weren't selling books and, members weren't paying. I mean, you weren't as involved at that time. So I just wanted to point that out. That's so good. So let me ask you guys about health insurance, because this is a major concern, obviously, for chronics when they're thinking of starting a chronicpreneur business. So what do y'all do for health insurance?
So I was married, and my ex-husband's health insurance was the Blue Cross Blue Shield Federal insurance, which was
really
the bomb.
good
Oh my God, it was
stuff.
so good. I know. Everything was freaking covered. While we were separated, which was 4 years, I paid the premium, my half of the premium, but I got to stay on the insurance, which was fucking great. But then I wanted to be completely divorced. So, so then I was like, well, shit.
Then it was worth it.
I was like, this really good health insurance is no longer worth this.
Right.
So, I was fortunate enough that I was approved for disability several years ago. And I was in the Ticket to Work program up until about 8 months into the pandemic. And then I was let go I was dropped from the Ticket to Work program because I had not made substantial gain, whatever it's called, SGA, not made a substantial gain amount. I hadn't earned, so at the time I could not earn over $1,260 a month.
Right.
But yet Ticket to Work wants you to. So I had a lot of months where I made $1,300 a month, $1,350, like $1,280. I mean, barely over, and I lost my benefits, which was for me was about $600. I got the lowest amount. And so it's super obnoxious. Well, then with the pandemic, not only, had businesses been shut down, but that was when I was the sickest. It happened right before the pandemic. And so then I was in surgery. So I really couldn't work. So then the Ticket to Work program dropped me. And when you have been on disability for, I think it's 2 years, you then qualify for Medicare, and you can be on Medicare Part A and B, if I'm correct. And then you get Medicare for 7 years. You pay the premium for it, but even if you lose your disability benefits, you get to remain on Medicare. So currently now, actually, let me just back up a tiny little bit. My divorce was finalized in August. And at that point in time, Medicare was my primary. The Blue Cross Blue Shield Federal was my secondary.
Okay.
Medicare kicked in as my primary after a certain amount of time. So then when the divorce was finalized, Medicare became my primary, and I pay $168 a month for that. And then I have Blue Cross Blue Shield of Kansas, because I really do like Blue Cross insurance. And I pay about $180 for that. So I am paying around $400 a month for medical insurance. I do not have dental insurance, and I do not have prescription insurance. Okay. During that gap, when I got off of my ex-husband's insurance onto Medicare, and then got the Blue Cross secondary insurance, I was able to do that like in the middle of the year because I'd been a Blue Cross person. So I did not understand, and it wasn't explained to me, that if I didn't sign up for prescription insurance during the open enrollment, I would not be able to get it. Shit. So I called on like December 20th to get prescription insurance, and I cannot get it until 2023 now. Oh, so God. I'm paying around $400 a month in health insurance. Like I said, no dental and no prescription. And in January, I had to go on antibiotics. I had to get my antidepressant. So I spent $350 on prescriptions in January, which sucked. Yes. And then because of having Medicare, I cannot get any other prescription health insurance. So I'm just kind of fucked with that.
You really are. I'm sorry.
The thing that I try to just be really grateful for is I will have Medicare for now. I think I have 3 years left. I'll have Medicare for 3 more years. I can't lose it, even when I lose my disability benefits. I've had a lot of months. I've had to pay back a lot of my benefits if I made over a little bit. I've had to pay back multiple months. And here in about 3 months, when my new job fully starts, I will be making over. So I'm going to lose my disability benefits this year for sure, but I'll get to keep Medicare for 3 more years, and I'll have Blue Cross as my secondary. And then when Medicare's done, I'm going to just continue on Blue Cross because I do really like their insurance.
Yeah.
I know that's a long-winded explanation, but I know that this stuff is super
so
important.
Good. It's super important. And hearing all these different kind of jags and jigs and jogs that it takes and all the different moving pieces, people need to hear this. You taught me something. 2 years on SSDI and you can get on Medicare. I'd never heard that before.
Yeah. And I never got
for 7 years.
I never qualified for SSI. It was just SSDI, just for clarification for those listening. And my first Ticket to Work representative person was so freaking helpful.
I remember you telling me about her.
She's the one who explained that to me. And then I had a different caseworker person representative. They would not have, I would not have known what I could get.
They wouldn't have clued you in. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is true. If
Maddening.
you're able to get on disability after, I believe it's 2 years, it could be 18 months. So
Okay.
once you've been on it, then you get Medicare and you have Medicare for 7 years. Like I said, though, you do pay your Medicare premium yourself.
Yeah.
So it's not
Yes.
free.
God.
I do pay my Medicare
Yeah.
premium, but yeah.
Ah, so interesting. Well, thank you for explaining all of that. Really appreciate it. Okay, Chelsea, you're up next.
So my situation might be a little bit different because I don't have any health conditions and neither does
Mm-hmm.
my husband, but me and my husband are both self-employed. There is no employer helping either one of us out with any insurance. So when we both turned 26, we had to figure out our own stuff. And
Yippee.
so
Adulting.
yeah, it's super fun.
Mm-hmm.
We have looked at like the Affordable Care Act plans because there are programs out there, and depending on how much you make, you get government subsidized insurance.
Mm-hmm.
We've actually found the most affordable option to be health share companies. And so they're nonprofit companies. They're often religious based companies. So if that's a big no-no for people, just a heads up to
Yeah.
look into that. Like the one I think I'm with One Share Health. It's a Christian company.
Mm-hmm.
We are not Christians ourselves, but
Mm-hmm.
they don't really care.
They're probably just praying for you.
Exactly. But I like it because it's a health insurance like company that is not trying to make money off of me. They're
Mm-hmm.
literally just trying to help people pay their healthcare
What a
expenses and
concept.
pay their administrators to keep it running and organized.
Yeah.
Who'd have thought? I love the
What a
concept.
concept.
The
Yeah.
challenge that we've run into is that there's just not a lot of healthcare providers. We live in Wichita, Kansas, and there is one primary care physician that is in network. There might be another one, but when I was looking into it, I was like, this keeps sending me to their OT department, not their primary care. I was very confused. But there's one. Luckily, I really like the doctor, and I was able to stay with my women's health doctor.
Oh,
That
good.
was the same one. That's
The
so far
biggie.
has been covered, so that's been great. But that was the most affordable option, and I think when my husband turns 30 later this year, it'll be $400 a month total for
Oh,
both
for
of
both
us,
of you, that's
which
amazing.
is really, really affordable compared to lots of other insurance options out
Yeah,
there.
no joke. Well, I'm also going to be doing a podcast on this very weird subject of health insurance in the US. And I know anytime we mention health insurance here, I
Mm-hmm.
hear from our international
Yeah.
community, like, are you fucking kidding me? You all have to go
Mm-hmm.
through all this? And I go, yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
know. Yeah, we do.
It's
But yeah,
special.
it
And
is
one
special.
thing I know that we're planning on doing is honestly one of the big reasons why we have the insurance that we have right now is because it covers pregnancy.
Mhm.
And recently got married. We're not necessarily planning on having kids this very second, but that was something that was important to us to have.
Yeah,
And knowing
smart.
that we have to pay for our insurance premiums, our healthcare costs, everything is out of pocket. Probably in a few years, we'll look at, okay, how much are we actually spending right now? And if we
Hmm.
were to go to more of like a concierge doctor style where there's a membership rate, and
Yeah.
then we had like catastrophic insurance in case one of us was hospitalized or
Yeah.
we had to have higher levels of care. Would that be cheaper? Would it not be cheaper? How can we put that into a health savings account so it's just ready to go, especially knowing that we're self-employed, and if you can put a money into account like that that can be tax-free, that could be really great. To my knowledge, the health share company we use doesn't have prescription insurance either. I've gotten the little prescription cards like save 80% in the mail.
Right.
And I've been using those, and
Yeah.
that's been saving me money on my
And you can't use those if
prescriptions.
you have Medicare.
Yes, because when Cassie told me, I was like, wait, try this thing. And she's like, yeah, I tried. I know I've had friends mention GoodRx would be something that we might
Yes.
also be looking into. And I think Cassie,
They're
you told me
great.
you're going to look into it. We have elected to not do vision insurance because
Hmm.
I personally, as someone who wears glasses and contacts, think that it's a ripoff. And I'm like, I'm paying you what? And I still have to pay what? I'll just pay it out
Right.
of pocket. But we
Yes.
did decide to get dental insurance because one of the options that we were able to find really seemed to work out for us. Again, there'll probably be some math down the road of are we spending more than we need to? But one thing that really helped us being self-employed and just trying to find an insurance that was affordable for us is in our area, there was a health insurance broker, like they have home
Yes.
insurance.
Yeah.
If you can find one in your area that can do some of the research to help you find a plan and give you options, that made that process so much more. It made it
100%.
made it easy because there was just so much out there.
Yeah,
And
they
honestly,
just bring it to you and go,
they
here's your
brought
choices.
it to us.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so like the guy that we worked with, he brought us this health share option. He gave us a few different options within it. He showed us Affordable Care Act options, and he was like, let me know what questions you have. Here's dental and vision stuff. And
That's so good.
it made a world of difference in making it not a super stressful process. So if you
I
can
love
find that in
that.
your area, I highly recommend it.
Such great
Mhm.
advice. And something else I thought of as you're saying all this, so often we just get into the mindset of, I mean, oh, you have to have insurance and you have to have dental
Mhm.
and you have to have vision and you have to, well, maybe you need to stop. It's got to be individual, right? Like
Mhm.
just take a breath and take a look at what you really truly need and what you really truly use and make a decision from that perspective, because I'm very guilty of that. I mean, I just, I'm much older than you too, damn it. But so my mindset was you got out of school, you got a job, and that job came with insurance, right?
Mhm.
And then, it has sort of evolved over all these fucking decades. And now we've got, pharmacy benefit managers in there and lots more money and but a lot of us haven't stopped to think maybe we don't need the
Mhm.
entire, I mean, a lot of us with chronic disease might, but some of us might not, like
Mhm.
take a beat and really look at how you utilize insurance. What do you use and what do you need? And then I love your recommendation to find a health insurance broker. I did this last year and I was really surprised to learn that in my one person business, I do qualify for a business health insurance policy,
Mhm.
which is kind of crazy. And it was a lot less expensive. So, yeah, look around. And I will be bringing a health insurance broker on the show. So,
Yay.
hopefully I think that'll help clarify some things. But thank you both for sharing that. Do y'all have any special tools or apps or anything that you find helpful in either your work or Cassie for your chronic illness that you could share with the community?
So for work, my favorite app is Slack.
I thought that's what you were going to say.
I love Slack. Okay, because like Chelsea and I don't always have boundaries. Like, well, we have like no boundaries with each other. Sometimes we try to be like, "Hey, I know you're not working this weekend, so this is not me
Mm-hmm.
crossing a boundary or whatever." But
Mhm.
I freaking love Slack because
Mhm.
you can
Excellent.
message on there, everything is on there, and yet you can also like shut off from it.
Yes, you
And
can.
yeah, so
Good point.
Slack is, I think every business, every company should have it.
Yes, and things don't get lost. So instead of like just
Mhm.
emailing back and forth, so it goes into that pile of
Well, oh
bullshit
my
that's in
God.
email, and then you got to search and try and find it. It's very concise, and all your
Mhm.
At this
stuff's there. I
point,
love that
we
too.
have a our to-do list is not just a like to-do list because that feels like a chore.
Yeah.
So ours is called a manifest to-do list,
Oh, I
meaning that
like it.
sometimes it may just like happen to be done on its own.
I love that.
So in our manifest to-do list, I mean, when Chelsea and I will be in our in-person meetings and
Mhm.
she's like, Cassie, you're going to do this and I'm going to do this. And I'll be like, okay, put it in Slack, put it in our manifest to-do list, put it in Slack, because it's like, then I can leave the notification there and I can not
Come.
even open it until I have the brain
Yes.
width to do it,
I love
which
that.
then sometimes Chelsea will be like, Cassie, check fucking Slack. And I'm like,
I just don't
Don't
know what I
forget
should
that
work
part.
on.
Right.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, if it's not
Check
in
Slack.
Slack, it's not going to happen,
yeah.
Yeah.
basically.
Right. I
So
understand.
Slack is my favorite. We also really loved Tailwind for quite some time,
Oh,
but
Mhm.
I've heard of
we,
that.
yeah, we actually like, they're actually really great. But they don't have Instagram reels. So we
Okay.
haven't used it so much.
Explain what
Um,
Tailwind is.
so it's
It's
like a scheduling app for social
mhm.
media
Okay.
You can
and
do Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest.
Pinterest.
We
Yeah.
primarily used it for Pinterest and Instagram, since
Yes.
Instagram is
Yeah.
our main social media
But
platform.
then
Gotcha.
once we incorporated Reels, we were not using
Mhm.
Tailwind as much. And one of the nice things about Tailwind is they also talk about like how good your hashtag is.
Mm.
But having said that, we have another hashtag tool that we love. Chelsea,
Mhm.
tell us all about that.
So it's the hashtag files. It was created by this woman who she's actually very outspoken about her experience with depression and anxiety, which as fellow entrepreneurs that also experience those things,
Yeah.
we love it. She's very good about taking breaks. But anyways, she created a business that she and her team research hashtags and help you create as great hashtag list as you possibly can. And it's just a software that I
Oh.
think about to come out with an app.
Oh, cool.
It's a soft. I think I've been using it for 3-ish years, maybe a little bit more, 3 years now. And Cassie and I believe in it so much because it's so easy to make hashtag lists and
Yeah.
then just copy and paste them in. For our business, my own business, the Pilates studio that I help run, I can make hashtag lists for the entire month in like less than an hour.
Wow,
Um,
that's great.
Super easy. And we believe in it so much that we became lifetime members when she was looking for some of those a few years ago. And
Fantastic.
we do have an affiliate link for anyone that wants to look into it.
If you would send that to me, I'll put that in the show notes too.
Perfect.
And as you're saying that, I'm thinking this is somebody I want to have on the show and maybe do a workshop because not everybody understands the whole concept of hashtags and how to
Mm-hmm.
use them. So
Yep.
I would
And
love that.
Courtney Schoberg is the creator of it, and she's done an amazing job.
Okay.
She's got a good social media head on her shoulder. She's got a really good perspective about it. And so that's one of the other tools that we use to try to make it that we're reaching the best audience that we can, new audiences. And they've got quite a few chronic illness hashtags. There's something that they're always asking for, recommendations or requests for people that want specific topics. And so sometimes
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, can we get more of these? And our team researches them
Yeah.
and puts them out there.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I
Mhm.
definitely want to get her on the show. She sounds fantastic. All right, how about for organization? What helps you keep things straight? Do you use like QuickBooks or spreadsheets or what's the one that I use? I'm looking
Okay, wait,
Evernote. I use Evernote.
I
I'm
was
sorry, go ahead.
muted because I was laughing. I was
Oh,
concurring because
because of
um
organization?
I'm fucking horrible at it.
I'm the organized one.
So I'm gonna let Chelsea
Okay.
completely answer
All
this.
right. Chelsea, you're up.
So for our business, to make sure Cassie and I both have access to all the documents that we need, we do a lot of Google Drive.
Love it.
So we call it, originally our business was called Spoonies Unite, which is then what came into our nonprofit business. So there's a
Yes.
Spoonies Unite business folder in Google Drive. We both have access to it. And then within that, there's just multiple folders with spreadsheets, with document, like anything that we feel like we need both to have access to, it's in
Yeah.
there. So those documents get linked a lot of times into our Slack account. I also personally use Passion Planner.
Oh yeah, love that too.
It's yes. And I used to be an affiliate for them, and then they needed to do their next round and I didn't apply, but soon. Because it's a great tool. It's a one that I personally used for many, many years. And I just
And it
like
just
having
feels nice to write on
it
it.
feels nice to write on, and I like
Oh,
having
Like their
something
paper,
physical.
their
Okay.
paper is
Yeah.
just like really enjoyable to write on. I
Good
know
to
that sounds silly,
know.
but it's true.
No, you got to find pleasure where you can, sister. So I love that.
And
What about for
I
like financials? Like, do you
so
do QuickBooks or do
so
you?
I use QuickBooks for my business financing. So when I pay myself through my LLC for Pilates, anything we pay ourselves with our business, and just my own coaching business. So I use QuickBooks for that. As of right now, we felt that we don't necessarily need that level of tracking for our Spoonie stuff,
Gotcha.
our chronicpreneur things,
Yes.
but it's going to be something that will probably get added
That
on.
would be the one that you would use if you
That's
were.
the one that we would use right
Gotcha.
now. We just basically just have an Excel spreadsheet that I go in and I update every single month of this is what we spent money on. This is where our money that came in, just to kind of keep that stuff. So we still have an
Yeah.
easy record to go back and look at that. And of course, we've got all receipts that we
Right.
have spent money on
For
saved,
those
and a lot of them
wonderful
are emails.
taxes. Yeah.
Yep.
Which I'm doing right now. It's somebody
I
hit
know
me over the
it's
head.
tax season.
I freaking hate it.
It's not a fun.
It is not fun.
Speaking of taxes, if you are a chronicpreneur, if you have your own business, pay someone to do your taxes for you.
Yes. Amen.
Just do it.
Yes.
It's the best money I spend all year.
Yes. 100%. I'm glad you said that because it would never have occurred to me. I've been paying someone to do my taxes most of my adult life.
Mhm.
I just would not. That would be stress that I just couldn't even handle.
It is when I had to start doing my own
Worth it.
taxes, and my dad was like, okay, you're an adult now. I'm not claiming you. You're on your own. I had multiple 1099s, multiple W-2s. And I was like, how? And my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband, had been working for himself for many years. And he was like, here's my accountant that I go to. I was
Good
like,
plan.
oh, thank God. And
Yes.
it is the best thing. I bring everything together, all the expenses, what I've made, and I give it to them. I answer whatever questions that they have. And it is
And they
the best
produce it.
money.
I
It is
agree.
like, I know it can be hard to spend money, especially if it's a newer business. You're like, oh, I could just do it myself. Don't just pay someone.
Roughly how much do you pay your tax person, Chelsea?
Something I should know. I feel like it's like $100 to $150, I want to say.
I'm going to need that number because
Yeah.
I'm paying between 800 and 1,000.
Oh shit. So I do TurboTax. I've just done TurboTax for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And I also have had 1099s, multiple, and W-2s, so like a mixture of independent contractor and employment work. And I've done it myself last few years, and it's definitely a pain in the ass at times. I pay for the kind of like deluxe TurboTax where I have a representative if I get audited.
Nice.
And they look over everything before I submit it. Also, because I'm getting paid in multiple states and have for the last 3 years, because I've done remote work out of state also every year. So mine costs around $300.
Okay. I love
Just talking
that.
prices.
That is perfect. Thank you for telling me that.
And then someone gets to look over it. And then like I said, I get a representative if I get audited.
Yeah.
The accountant I go to, it's a small business. And I really generally only see this person for about an hour.
Yeah.
So that might be one of the reasons why it's a little bit lower. This actually will be the first year that my husband and I will file taxes together. And
super fun.
Curious to see how the process of having two self-employed people file taxes together is going to go.
Right. All right. I know you drink wine, so I would suggest you start there. Okay. And I think I heard you say, Chelsea, about LLC. Do you have you done that with your business together?
Yes.
Okay. Right out of the chute, like, do you recommend starting with the legal structure in place?
I think we did it pretty quickly.
At first, we didn't have much of anything when we were very, very first beginning. Chelsea definitely recommended we start pretty early on with an LLC. And then we actually applied for a grant through ARI, which is by American Eagle Clothing.
Yeah.
And when we found out we won the grant, we definitely were like, okay, we need an LLC.
Yeah.
we need something legal. And so we kind of three went together and have since changed the name. But that was actually a relatively easy process to get started.
Yeah.
And it really was a high on our priority list, especially because Chelsea had her LLC, her individual income, business, and coaching. And then we needed separation. We needed to make sure everything was good. Then we also started a nonprofit. So we had applied for a 501c3, and then we needed that separation. So legally, we needed everything to be separate to protect ourselves.
Keep your buckets separate.
And one of the reasons why I felt really passionate about having some sort of LLC barrier is if you don't have that in place, and I mean, you hope that nothing bad happens, but if it does, without that LLC, without that legal entity that's separate from you and your personal assets they're at risk.
They're on the table.
And so I know for me, for a long time, I was in my Pilates job, in my Pilates business, I was just having the studio pay me directly. And then I was thinking about it and I was like, well, that's stupid, because if I get sued while teaching Pilates for whatever reason, hopefully that never happens, but if it were, then I have zero protection in place.
Right.
Yeah, I have liability insurance, but if something bad happens, then my personal finances, my house, it didn't feel safe. So that's why I filter everything through my LLC. And I wanted us to have that same thing, because I was like, well, we're going off on the internet. We're seeing a lot of people, who knows what's going to happen. Right. You don't want things to happen, but just in case, for the peace of mind. It is pretty easy to file for an LLC, at least it is in the state of Kansas, where I've done it a few times.
Virginia too.
And it's fairly inexpensive to keep going every single year. And just for that peace of mind and kind of speaking of that layer of protection in that LLC-ness,
Yeah.
make sure you have a business card and you are paying for business expenses on your business card.
The
If you're
credit
using,
card. Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
didn't realize that if I had the LLC, but I was using like my personal debit or credit card to pay for things, that could negate the LLC. It was something that I wasn't aware of. And then my
Such a good
accountant told
tip.
me, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. So
Oh,
I put
great
this thing in
tip.
place. And just because there might be people going, oh, of course, that's obvious. I didn't know it. So I want to share it with
No, I
others,
love
because
that.
if you put
Yeah.
the effort in place to create an LLC, don't screw that protection up because you're using a
Right.
personal card.
Right, exactly right.
Yeah.
Oh, great tip. And you had said earlier about just run everything through the LLC, and I just want to clarify that. By that you mean when you're paid, your company is paid. The LLC is
Yes.
paid, and then you draw on that.
Yeah. So whenever I get paid
Yeah.
to teach Pilates or teach bar, my checks are made out to Chelsea D Coaching, which is my LLC's company's name. If when we pay ourselves from our My Wellness Hub LLC, which is the LLC for our podcast, our membership, and our books, I would write that check to Chelsea D Coaching. When I
Right.
have my own coaching clients pay me, it's through Chelsea D Coaching. And then
Love
from
it.
there, I filter everything into my own personal account as needed.
Excellent. Great explanation. And what is your coaching? What do you coach about?
It's kind of like wellness coaching. It's a lot of self-care mindset. I'm a certified health coach through the American Council on Exercise. But to me, health is a lot more than just exercising and eating a certain way. It's
Yeah.
about the way that you think. It's about the way you take care of yourself. It's the allowing yourself to dream. And so that's kind of what I do with that.
Oh, I love
It really
that.
depends on what people need.
Yeah, I love that. And I was telling you ladies before I hit record that I am just starting Pilates and I'm so excited. My back is fucked up. It's bad. And I realized that I really thought I watched a Pilates YouTube video and I was like, that inherently makes sense to me. Like, that's exactly what I need. Just looking at it, I'm like, that's what I need. I've tried everything else, but that just makes sense. And I have this wonderful PT who has her own Pilates studio. And so I had her, she's like digging around in my back and moving stuff and then showing me different moves. But I start officially tomorrow morning at 8.
And is that on the Reformer?
Yes.
Hells yeah. Oh, you're going to love it. We love it. I mean, it has like saved my body. I think with everything my body's been through, I would be in such worse shape. And what I mean is not just like, oh, fitness shape. I mean, like my joints would be fucked without Pilates.
Okay.
And
everybody needs to look into Pilates because everything I've seen, and this woman is so I mean, she's got a medical background and anyway, everything that she's been me too. She's been educating me on all of this stuff and it just makes sense. It makes a ton of sense. And particularly like with my low back is in such pain and I have so many spasms and whatnot. And she's like, girl, you gotta, get that core. And anyway, and I just did frog. I did some froggy things. Oh my God. It felt so good.
Yay!
Really good. Yeah, I'm very excited about it. So I had to share that with you all. But anyway, so everybody look into Pilates where you are.
Yes.
So what advice would you give to other chronics who want to do something more flexible or remote, either full-time or as a side hustle? What's your advice for people?
I would like to, I want to just at least add in here, Chelsea talked a little bit of her coaching business and then Pilates and making all that through her LLC. I also teach Pilates online. The pandemic made that accessible. So I still teach for the studio I used to work at in Montana. And that's with clients all over the nation. And they might just be on the mat on the floor, or they could be they have equipment in their house, like the Reformer in their house.
Okay.
So that has really made me an even like deeper believer of, you can take your trade remotely or online. Whether that might be like freelance graphic design, or if you are a movement instructor, you very well might be able to do it online. I just sit at my computer and talk and teach and cue and fix. I don't demo anything. which makes it even more accessible for me to be able to do that with people, for my health. And so in addition to mine and Chelsea's business together, we both have done a lot, on our own independently, business wise. And so advice would just be like, there's so many certifications that you can get out there. And I'm not saying you have to be certified in something in order to be successful, but I'm just saying like you can become a certified proofreader and get on freaking, oh my God, what the hell is that website called that we always used? Upwork.
Upwork is
And you
one of
can
them.
get on Upwork.
Yes.
Is one of them.
And
Yes.
you can edit, proofread, you can edit podcasts. Like people need help.
Yes.
There's virtual assistant stuff. And like I said, you don't have to have a certification in order to be successful, but they sure are helpful. And it might be great to add in a little side hustle. Just in addition to that, just before the pandemic, and being able to teach online, I had a side hustle. And before Chelsea and I started, I had a side hustle doing social media management for an entrepreneur company. She worked for companies all over the US as well. It was all remote. And I had no certification in that. I just was a fast learner and I could learn on the internet pretty well. And I was making anywhere between $300 and $1,100 a month as a social media manager at that point in time. And then as a Pilates instructor teaching online, very part-time, I'm making around $600 a month doing that too. So
Excellent.
I just share that because the advice is like, see how you can take what you like doing or what you're already good at, or what you think could be a way to just get out there and see how you can take it online and remotely. And then just quickly on the flip side, before Chelsea shares hers too, our jobs as Pilates instructors, and this has to be true for many different movement instructors or perhaps even physical therapists, etc. We are relatively flexible to go from like seated to standing throughout the day. I can't sit all day and I can't stand all day. And with Pilates, we are often not doing the exercises. We're not demoing that much. So it's nice on my body to be able to have the flexibility to go from seated to standing, or maybe like doing a little bit of movement with one client if I'm like, oh crap, my back hurts, I've been teaching for 4 hours.
Right.
So I did go into my career as a Pilates instructor with that in mind. I was working at a coffee shop. I got introduced to Pilates. I found relief from chronic pain through Pilates. I watched the instructors and I was like, oh my gosh, wait, this is so friendly to their bodies as they're at work right now. I could do this even if I'm sick, and that has been true. Like sometimes it's harder than other days, but so I did select, like I kind of looked at what my day would look like at work and I did choose it partly
and what would
because
work
of
for
that.
you. I love that. I love that. So pay attention to what you're interested in, your talents are, and what will work best for your illness. Yeah. Okay. And how about you, Chelsea?
Building off of that, I think a lot of it is about getting to know yourself and how your body and your brain work. Like I could not sit at a desk doing anything all the time. I also need to get up and move around and be active. And my brain doesn't like to have to do the same thing over and over and over and over again. And so I've kind of just had to learn of how many times a week that I can teach, how many hours I can teach, how much I can do administrative work, how much I can podcast, how much I can coach, and kind of building my schedule from there. And it's a constant process of being like, okay, does it work for me to teach on just these days and do other things this days? Do I want to do a little bit of everything each day?
Yeah.
And so and the other piece besides getting to know yourself that I'd really encourage people is don't be afraid to experiment.
I love that.
I kind of mentioned it earlier. Within the past, I think I've been in business with myself for 4 years now ish. And the amount of things that I have tried and failed at to try different tweaks of, that it's endless. And I'm sure there's going to be multiple things that I'll try and fail in the future, but that's okay. That's part of business. And I know when I first started hearing people say that, I was like, is it, is failure? Is it, are you sure?
Yeah.
But if you look at things as an experiment, it gives you the space to make adjustments as you need to. and reflective. Does this actually work for you?
I love that. And I always tell people it's not a failure unless you fail to learn something from it. If you try something and you learn something from it, that original idea may not have worked out, but you're taking knowledge, hard-fought knowledge probably, forward into the next thing that you do. And really, aren't we all just like a conglomeration of all of our experiences throughout life? And then here's what we're trying now, right? But we bring all that to us. So it's never a failure unless you quit. So
Agreed.
good on you. Good on you. Okay, I love all of this. But we could go on and on. So instead of that, I want y'all to come back and give us updates. But if people want to find out more about you, both your business, your podcast, I'm going to ask you in a second, where do they go? I want that too. But I know you mentioned that you offer a free month of your community. So I want to hear how listeners can get that amazing deal too.
So the best way to find us, I would say, is on Instagram. We're at The Real Wellness Hub. And to find the free month to our community, I'd say the easiest way is to go to our Instagram bio link, and it'll be one of the links on there. I think it's the top or one of the top 3. It'll say join us in our community. And when you go to that link and you put in your email, you get a link in your email inbox that'll give you access to a free month.
Fantastic.
And as you're talking about that free month, we want to share on there too that we have several price options. We have the lower tier that's really affordable to everybody. And then we have a higher tier. And if you choose that higher tier, you are giving a scholarship to those who can't afford the lower tier.
And so if you are listening and you're like, I have 0 extra money to do this, but I want to be part of a community like that, send us a message. Again, Instagram's probably the best way to get a hold of us. We do have scholarships available because we don't want finances to be the reason someone's not part of a community.
So great. I love y'all's hearts. Chelsea, you also do a free coaching session for anyone potentially interested, right? So I'm going to just assume DM you on Instagram to get more info on that.
That's a perfect way to get a hold of me. Yep. Just say that you want to chat. I believe that no one should spend money on anything unless you know it's a good fit. So I like to talk to people to see if we're a fit and if I can actually help them before taking any of their money.
Yay! I love it. And I love you too. All of the links for everything we've talked about today will be in the show notes. So don't freak out and try to write everything down. I got you. So anyway, I just want to thank you ladies so much. And P.S., these ladies are also members of Patients Getting Paid. So
come say hi to us.
Yeah, come on in. The water's warm. Anyway, thank you all so much for being here and sharing all of this fantastic information. I've learned so much today. I know everybody else has learned, and we just want to thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having us.
Yay. Take care.